All right, thank you so much for joining me again in this lecture. And I must tell you that this is going to be the last topic regarding the hypothesis testing. And after that, each and every concept relating to the hypothesis testing shall be over. Okay. So this is the last point in which we are going to talk about some non-parametric test. Okay. In the last video, I taught you about a chi-square test. In that specific test, I told you about the different kinds of tests which are non-parametric in nature, and we studied in detail regarding the chi-square test. I taught you about the difference between parametric and non-parametric tests, and chi-square, which is used for finding the significant difference between the expected and observed frequencies of any sample, any given data points. Okay. So whatever the non-parametric tests which are left, we shall be talking about these in detail in this lecture. So I hope you shall be listening to me very carefully. Only then you shall be able to comprehend the concept regarding the non-parametric test. So I'm just going to share the screen so that this is visible to you and you can see what is there in this specific topic or lecture. So this is about non-parametric tests. Okay, so these are the things which we have to go through in this video lecture. Non-parametric test. I hope you would have understood by now the meaning of non-parametric test. Okay, the only meaning is this, which do not need any kind of assumption from the parent population. They do not need any kind of assumption regarding the normalcy or the randomness or anything regarding the parent population. These kind of tests are known as non-parametric test, and we have already studied about one non-parametric test, that was chi-square test. Okay. So now this is just a somewhat detail regarding non-parametric test. What does it say? Non-parametric tests are distribution free tests whose underlying assumptions are fewer or weaker than associated with parametric tests, as they do not have any assumption regarding the population parameters for their application. Okay, they don't need any assumption regarding the population parameters for their application. So this was about non-parametric tests. So now one by one I shall explain you about all the kinds of non-parametric tests. And before moving further, I must tell you that they do not contain any kind of a specific formula to be gone through and numericals to be solved. None kind of system is there. Theoretically, you must be sound with these, and I do not suggest to cram their formulas. Okay. For cramming, we have already, I have already told you, like standard error, then t-test, z-test, f-test, different types of analysis of variance. These formulas you can read. But for non-parametric test, only chi-square test is there, for which you have to understand and you have to cram the formula. Otherwise, for non-parametric test, the different types which I am going to explain in this video lecture, you are not supposed to cram their formula. Just understand what I am telling to you, and even if you are understanding only what I say to you and nothing else, that would be very sufficient. It would suffice. Now, this is the first test, first non-parametric test. This is known as a sign test. Okay, sign test. Okay. In correlation, I taught you about the correlation by Carl Pearson. Then we talked about the rank correlation, and lastly the concurrent deviation. Okay. We talked about these things. Okay. And if you remember, I taught you regarding a specific method in which signs are used, like plus, minus, and plus, minus. So that these are used, like there are a specific series contain item like 5, 6, then 4, then 7, then 8. You have to make the sign on the basis of previous figures, like 6 is greater than 5. Then here should be the sign of plus. Then 6 is 4 is lesser than 6, then there should be the sign of minus. 7 is greater than 4, here should be plus. 8 is greater than 7, here should be plus. The test which is applied on these signs is known as a sign test, and this is a non-parametric test. Okay, this is the most popular and oldest and simple statistical test. In this test, it is not the magnitude of a difference between the predicted and observed value that is important. Rather, the direction of a difference, like plus or minus signs, are important for making the analysis whether there is a difference between observed values and the expected values as per the table. So this is about sign test. The second is Wilcoxon matched pair test. Okay, this is same like sign test, but this has a major difference. Only one or two differences are there. The first difference, sign tests do not take into consideration zero values. Okay, so if 0 is there, you cannot make this 0 is greater than the previous 0 or not. You cannot make any kind of plus or minus sign. But Wilcoxon matched pair test remove this kind of hindrance or this kind of drawback of a sign test. Okay, it has been seen that the sign test discard a lot of information. When the difference between two values is 0, then the item is discarded. However, this drawback is removed to an extent in Wilcoxon matched pair test, also known as signed rank test. This is also known as a signed rank test. Okay. So what does it says? This test is particularly suitable for matched pair before and after experiment types. Okay, in this test, not only the direction but magnitude of difference is also considered. How much sample 1 is better than sample 2. This is also comparison in Wilcoxon matched pair test. Okay. So this was something about Wilcoxon matched pair test formula. You need not to go through, but you have to understand why this specific test is applied. Okay, why this specific test is applied. Sign test and Wilcoxon matched pair test, the two tests we have already understood by now. And this test is particularly that I have already taught you. Then Wilcoxon's Mann-Whitney test, and this is also known as U test, and this test has been named after three renowned researchers. First is Wilcoxon, then Mann, then Whitney. So this test is named after its designers, Wilcoxon, Mann, Whitney, and it is considered as an improvement over sign test and Fisher-Irwin test. So this test, what does it do? It simply analyzes the data from two group independent samples. Okay, this is sample 1, this is sample 2. These are two independent sample, and this analyze the difference between these two samples independently. Okay, it measures the degree of a separation between two groups, how much S1 differs with the S2. Okay, this also considered from the U test or Mann-Whitney test. So this is an improvement over sign test, that this tells you the degree of a separation or the amount of overlap between the two samples. Then there is Crook-Skull-Bellis test, or this is also known as H test. This is also similar to analysis of variance. Okay, we have studied in detail the concept of ANOVA or the F test, which was given by Fisher. We studied it yesterday. Okay, so analysis of variance while doing ANOVA, I told you its assumption that it do take into consideration the assumption regarding the normalcy of a parent population. Okay, but H test is exactly similar to analysis of variance, and it differs only in one respect, and this respect is it do not require any kind of assumption of normalcy of a population. Otherwise, this is same as analysis of variance. So this is known as Crook-Skull-Bellis test or H test. Okay. So next is a rank correlation test that we have already studied in detail while doing the correlation concept. If you have not seen that video, if you have not attended that particular lecture, you can go through and you can understand about the rank correlation test. Then there is Kendall's coefficient of a concordance. This is also the non-parametric test. Okay. So what does it tells? Okay. This is known as coefficient of a concordance. This was designed by Kendall, and this is an improvement over Spearman rank correlation coefficient. Okay, since it is used, why this is used? For determining the degree of association among the several sets of ranked data or objects. Okay, so let me tell you what is this in somewhat detail. We have studied about rank correlation. This is used for making the comparison or finding the association between two samples. This is sample 1 and sample 2, and it had a great limitation that it can take into account only two samples. Okay, but what if we try to find the level of association between the more than two samples? Suppose if there is sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, sample 5. What if we try to find their degree of association or a relationship between each other? Then the non-parametric test which shall be applied, this is known as Kendall's coefficient of concordance. So I hope you would have understood its meaning by now. It's simply the method which is applied for finding the degree of association between more than two samples or several sets of ranked data. So this was about the Kendall's coefficient of concordance. The next one is Fisher-Irwin test. Okay, Fisher-Irwin test. This is also a very famous test, a non-parametric test, and why this is used. This was given by Fisher-Irwin. Okay, this is a simple non-parametric test that is used to test if there is no difference between any two sets which can be classified into two mutual categories. Okay, I hope you are my regular student. You would have gone through from many videos given by me. Okay, in one video I taught you that there are two treatment groups. Okay, in a complete class you group into categories. This is group 1, group 2, and to group 1 you give a special kind of tuition classes, and you try to find if there is any difference between the marks of the students who are having the tuition classes and marks of the students who are not having any kind of coaching or tuition classes. Okay, so these are mutually exclusive categories. Okay, so this test is applied to these kind of categories as well. Okay, so this test is applied to mutually categories, exclusive categories. This test is used to find if there is actually any difference in two treatment being administered. Okay, so what is the treatment? Treatment is simply giving tuition and not giving tuition. These two kind of treatments are there, and this test is applied to find if there is any difference between these two tests conducted and the ultimate result. So this was about Fisher-Irwin test. Now this is McNemar's test. This is the second one. This is the next one, and it tells you the McNemar test is useful when data is about two related samples. Okay, this is a complete population. This is sample 1, this is sample 2. Okay, and if they relates to each other in any respect. Okay, generally this idea is used in situation where attitudes of people are noted before administering the treatment and then compared with the experiment. Okay, so COVA shield is there. Okay, you know that nowadays you have to get yourself vaccinated. Okay, this is the system. If this is found, that is there any difference between attitude of the person before getting vaccinated and after getting vaccinated? So if you are trying to find the difference between the attitude or the health of the people before and after administering the vaccination, then for finding the result, the test which is applied, this test is known as McNemar test. Okay, why? Because this is applied to a related group, because the people are same. You are there, you have not got vaccinated. After that, you shall get vaccinated. You are there as well, you are there as well. So person is same. So samples are related to each other. The only difference is you try to find whether there is any difference in the health of yours before and after vaccination. So for finding the result, the test which is applied is known as McNamara test. So the next is one sample runs test. What does it do? Its a simple job is to find the randomness of sample and nothing else. Whether the sample is random or not, randomly selected or not on the base of a population, but only on the base of a sample. Whether this is random or not, the sample has been taken on the basis of randomness or not. Only this is the job of one samples run test. Okay. So this is Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. So why this is applied? This test is used in situations where a comparison has to be made between observed sample and distribution and theoretical sample distribution. You know that there is a population, you try to find sample, okay? Like population, a sample has also its distribution, okay? It can also have its distribution and it can be of any shape, okay? So distributions are of two types. First is what you observe again and what should be there or what is theoretical, okay? So theoretical is there. Whether there is any difference between observed and theoretical distribution of the sample. So for finding that difference, the test which is applied, this is known as Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. So this was description of this test. So it is applied in two cases. Okay, so two cases are there. This is one sample test or two sample test. For one sample, you just have so this is the case only. Okay, what I have taught you right now, what it says, this test is used as test of goodness of fit and ideal when size of sample is small and chi-square test cannot be used. In that case, you can use this formula or this specific names test, one sample test. So where size of sample is lesser than or the frequencies are lesser than 50, you can simply apply the one sample test. And for two samples test, where there are two independent samples, okay, and you have to find the difference between cumulative distributions. Distributions are same, but I have already taught you many times. So in that case, you have to apply two samples test. So again, I'm telling you, in the case where there are two samples and cumulative distributions are there, and you try to find with the difference between observed cumulative distribution and expected cumulative distribution. In that case, you have to apply Kolmogorov-Smirnov two sample test. So these were the complete detail regarding the non-parametric test, and I hope I was able to make you understand this concept very completely. We are again here to recall each and everything what we have learned till now, and after that we shall be finishing this lecture and the next lecture details shall be given to you. So we learned about non-parametric test. First was sign test in which only plus and minus test the signs are taken into consideration. Then Wilcoxon matched pair test is there, in which the magnitude of difference is also considered. Then there is Wilcoxon Mann-Whitney test, which is also known as U test, which is used for analyzing two group independent samples. Then H test is there, which is known as Crookskel-Wallis test. This is used for analysis of a variance without any normalcy assumption. Rank correlation test we studied in correlation. Then Kendall's coefficient. This is used for several sets of data in which the rank correlation is not applicable. Then Fisher-Irwin test is there, which is applied for two mutually exclusive categories. Then McNamara test is there, which is done for related samples only, like a test treatment, administering the treatment before and after result is produced. Then one samples run test simply for finding the randomness of sample. Then Kolmogorov's Smirnov test we did, which is used for finding the difference between observed and expected frequencies. So in this way, you have to understand the complete concept regarding what we have understood about the different kind of a parametric and non-parametric test. And I must tell you, from now onwards, the complete concept regarding the hypothesis testing is done. We are already very advanced, and uh, tomorrow there shall not be any lecture, because this is a very special day for me, and we have already delivered you the complete details regarding the schedule of both the subjects. You can go through from this as well, because tomorrow, the reason why there are two basic reasons. The first reason is this, that it's very simple, that we are going to launch a very simple program. This is the test series shall be conducted via YouTube videos. Okay, a recorded voice shall be there. I have already prepared a number of lectures for different subjects for paper 1 and paper 2 as well. I just need your regularity. The process is very simple. Test shall be sent to you, and you have to answer the questions. You can answer via commenting in the comment box, or in any way. Okay, you can comment, or you can keep the answer in your mind, and 5 to 8 seconds shall be there for you. A question shall be displayed on the screen, and you will have to answer. Okay, and on regular basis the test shall be conducted. And I must tell you, if you are my regular students, these are completely free of cost for you. And the second reason why there is the leave tomorrow, it's my birthday. Thank you so much. This was Gurpal Singh from Gursar Education.